earning my money. I want a lot of money in my life.
That Indian women who move abroad, they are unwilling to go back to India because they feel like all these little things that they get used to,
The
these little
freedom.
freedoms, they would lose that. But Indian men are more willing to go back home because they know things are not gonna change for them a lot.
Namaste and welcome to Indian Women Abroad, a podcast where we share stories of migrant Indian women who often get lost in translation. For today's episode, I have with me Jenny, who is an all rounder in every sense of the word. She's a company secretary, a chef, a business owner, among the many hats that she wears. She also founded and sold Tosha, an Indian inspired cafe in the heart of Melbourne. Welcome to the show, Jenny.
Thank you so much.
So, like I've talked about your introduction, that you wear so many different hats.
Yes.
But company secretary and a chef and a business owner are very different occupations in the
Yes.
sense of the word. So, where did all these different interests come from?
So we'll start from the start. And I studied in becoming a company secretary altogether. And I was a nerd and I used to study way too much. And I, got a rank as well in India for my CS. So I thought, yeah, this is it. This is what I'm going to become. And while I was working as a company secretary in Tata Capital, my best friend, who was an engineer, she was studying to be a chef. So we used to stay together in Bombay at that time. And that's how my love for food started, because we used to go out so much and eat so many different things. And I was like, I'm really good at this. So that's how it started. Even when I was working for a long time, I actually had a business back in India as well. It was called Elements by Jenny, where we used to do a lot of food pop-ups. So every month I used to do a different menu, and it was mainly about Indian food, but with a fusion, with a twist always. I think that's what I loved always. So I did that for a long time before I moved to Australia. And then when I came to Australia, I wanted to take a break. So I did like study cookery because I wanted to get into technical part of it, like understand every aspect of food as much I can. So that's how it started. And then I was always very passionate about having my own cafe, because that was the dream, right? Everyone's dream to have their own small little place. So that's how Tosha started. And I think we did a very good job. People really loved our food. They still do. And yeah, that's about it.
So, a lot of things to unpack there. You were working as a company secretary and you also had your business back in
Yes.
India. Was it very easy or difficult to manage both of those?
I
How
would
was that
say it
process?
was difficult back in India because the corporate culture is altogether very different to over here. So it was difficult, but I was always very passionate about having that. And that was like once a month, the food pop ups that I used to do. So I think if you are passionate about something, it's easier to juggle on time as well. So it was difficult, but I did it and I was good at it.
And then how did your move to Australia come about?
So it was during the COVID that my sister was here alone for a long period of time as well. My younger sister lives here and I love her way too much. And so she felt alone as well. And then I just wanted to start something afresh, is the reason I moved to Australia. And when I came over here, it was altogether, everything was brand new for me. I came here when I was 30. So not a start, not an age, I would say that, where you have a fresh start. But I think it was the best thing that I did to myself, that I moved here. And I really love here. And then I found my partner here as well. That was the best part as well. So yeah, and when I moved here, I knew that I have to do something in food because I was taking a break from my company secretary. So I started studying. And there I met a lot of friends, and I was just so much about food. I worked as a chef as well for a long time at a lot of places in Melbourne before I opened my place, because I wanted to understand the industry from inside.
Right.
So yes, I did that, and then I opened my cafe. And of course I sold it. I just recently sold
just
it.
recently.
Yeah, because it was a good offer and I wanted to move on and start something else as well.
Right.
So yes, and now the plan is that I want to write about me and show my journey as well. So I'm just starting like a small Instagram page where it's not about just getting followers and become famous or something, but it's more about I want to show my journey, because from the time I've stayed in Australia, I've gone to hundreds of cafes, I would say, because I'm so passionate about food. I love eating outside. So the plan is to show my journey, how I started and did everything, and then even to give food reviews for the
Right.
places that I've been to, and even share some of my personal recipes, because there are so many recipes I would say that I have that which are not available. So with a little bit twist of mine. So I wanted to share my journey and do this. So yeah, and work as a company secretary as a part-time, because I have realized that that's where I was really good at. I wanted to do that as a part-time, but this is what I really wanted to focus as well.
Okay. So what you're saying is like very interesting to me, because you've studied company secretary, but it feels like your true passion really lies with food and sharing that joy with others.
Definitely.
Yeah. So talk me through about Tosha. Like, how did that name come about? How did you find the right location? How easy or difficult was it to set up a business in a new country as a new immigrant? What were the challenges, especially when it comes to hospitality? Because there's this notion that it's a very male dominated field. So, how did you go about all of that?
So I would say yes, having a business in Australia is so much more difficult than having a business in India, because I've had one over there as well. But having one in Australia is a very difficult part, because there are so many compliances behind it. It's not only about the business, but there's so much that goes on behind it as well. So I always knew I wanted to do that. Even with me studying or doing anything, my prep was to come up and have my own place. So that's how it started. And it was me and my younger sister. We did it together. I was the food behind it, and she was the brains behind it, I would say. She's very good with interiors. So she's the one who chose the color, and she was the one who designed the logo. And for the name, I would say I really wanted to keep with my Indian roots in it, because Tosha means satisfaction in Sanskrit. And I wanted to have a name which resonates more about my culture as well, because I totally believe that Indian food is the best cuisine ever. Not only because I'm from India, but it's because even after I've studied all the cuisines over here and learned how to make it, I feel Indian food has a lot of flavor to it, which people don't know. Because even if you go out over here in Melbourne to a lot of Indian restaurants, yes, there are some which I love, but others are all about just curries and making it spicy. But I feel Indian food is not supposed to be spicy. It is supposed to be full of flavor.
Right.
That's what we wanted to show. And I had a cafe in South Yarra, which is the main hub. There was no Indian place nearby. All right. And nobody would dare to open an Indian place in such an Australian suburb. But I was like, I'm going to do it. And we are going to not show that we are in an Indian place, but people will come to know about it. So my whole menu, which I designed by myself, was 100% modern Australian. If you would look at it as an Australian, you would not think about that it has Indian touches to it. But when you eat it, you'll be like, oh, this is something that I've never had.
Right.
So we had a tapioca roasty in an egg benedict. So which is something like people have not tried tapioca over here. and we had makhana, which is such a superfood in India, in our salad, because if you're having a salad, you want to eat healthy. So this is one of the healthier thing that you should have. And then we had lotus root. So there were so many Indian aspects in it, but if you look at the menu, you would not feel it as Indian. So that was my goal, that to show that, you know, Indian food is so much more than curries, you know. It's so much more than a butter chicken curry, to be honest. So that's how it started. And I sold it because I have a reason behind that as well. Because yes, I loved my place, but I felt I was, you know, getting into being more commercial over there, that, you know, I was not behind it. Because I wanted to make everything by myself as well. But it is not possible, because you need a chef, you need this, you need that. So I was not able to do that. And it is a commercial cafe where you have to cover the rent and you have to earn money as well. And it is not possible if, you know, if you're not thinking about earning money. So if it is about earning money and it's passion, then, you know, it doesn't go hand in hand, is what I feel. So I was like, yes, it was a money-making business. I earned a lot from it as well. But I felt that I was very restricted with the things I could do, because I would want to change the menu every month if I could. But we can't do that, right? Having a cafe, you cannot do that. So I was like, it's a good time to sell it. And then, you know, I always thought that I would be sharing my journey over the social media. And then maybe once I have my own house, which we are just getting one, I would maybe do food pop-ups again. Maybe host monthly supper clubs where, you know, like 10-20 people can come into my house, sit into my place, and I'll be making everything from scratch by myself and serving it. And that's what I think I did in India for 5 years, and I loved it, because that's the food, and that shows my love for food. So maybe I'm gonna do that here again.
That sounds very interesting. And if you start a supper club, please sign me up. I would love to be there.
Definitely.
And I would make that drive, even though I know your house is going to be very far from me, but I'll be there. So I'm interested in knowing, you know, you opened this India-inspired restaurant in the heart of a suburb that's predominantly Australian.
Yes.
What was the initial reaction of the customers, or what was the feedback that you received? You know, what are those things that really stand out to you?
So initially we thought that we'll have more of the Indian crowd, just because we had a chai as well. We had a Bombay masala sandwich. And I thought that we'll have more of Indians coming in, but actually it was the opposite. We had more of the Australians coming in, and those became our regulars more than any Indian that I know. Because they would be like, oh, you know, this tea, we have chai lattes so much, but this having an Indian tea is so much more better, because it's the same thing. Chai latte is just about sugar and honey, and, you know, it's just dimming down the Indian masala tea. And I feel like people who have that, they would really enjoy an Indian masala tea. So initially, I really had thought very differently, but it was very different. I had more people coming from the US and, you know, UK and Australians. They were my clients, because we were located at a place where there were a lot of hotels. So we will have a lot of tourists coming in. So everybody would appreciate it. And then, you know, in our coffee cups as well, we had, in one we wrote in English and in one we wrote in Hindi. So because that was my route, and people were like, oh, what does this mean? They were so inquisitive about the name, the reason behind it. And I tried as much I could being there to explain to people as well. And people would always love the story behind it. And they would order something and they'd be like, what is this? This is something that I've never tried. So that was my plan altogether, that I want to serve something which you don't get, because you go to 10 cafes, it's the same food in Melbourne. because people would have the same egg benedict and scramble and chili scramble and their granola, and like it's the same thing
Right.
everywhere. So I was like, I'm going to get the same thing, but with my fusion in it. And anyone who would have come to my cafe and tried my food, they would always come back and get their friends, and they'll be like, oh, have you tried this? So I think people are ready for different kind of food. People are ready for an Indian, inspired menu, breakfast menu. And but just we need to have more people doing it, because people, I feel like Indians feel that their food is not up to their mark, like Australian people's mark, but I feel that's not true. I think we are doing amazing. I know so many chefs who are doing so good over here in Melbourne as well. So, yeah, that was the thing altogether. And I feel that we did amazing. Even after I sold it, I had so many regulars call me and say, oh, I would like, miss you being there. Of course, the business is still there. But, I have had my regulars message me, call me and say, oh, we miss you. It's different without you. The chef is the same, the barista is the same, everything is the same. I used to not even do much over there, but it of course I left a little of me over there, but I think that's how it works, and I might get more into it and get more different ideas and maybe better food altogether.
So that's actually amazing, because the way that you've formed this connection with the customers, and it also just speaks volumes to the fact, because you raised a very important point, that the world is ready for Indian cuisine. It's just that we've been sort of, I don't know, conditioned in a manner that maybe the Western world only likes butter chicken masala, or those
Yeah.
specific curries that the world knows. But speaking from my experience, when I talk to my colleagues, I know a lot of people who say that I would like my last meal on earth to be aloo gobi and palak paneer and things like that, things that you would not expect a Western individual to know or to really like, because
Yeah.
aloo gobi sounds like a very comfort Indian home cooked meal, not something that people go and order in restaurants.
Yeah, true.
So just changing that conversation is very important, and I think the way that you brought it to the Melbourne hospitality scene is also very appreciable. So kudos on that.
Thank you.
And moving on from Tosha, obviously you were there, you were running that cafe for so long. And I know we've talked about it, but I'm sure the listeners would love to know that now that you've sold it, what did that feel like? How did your days feel like?
So it's been just 3 weeks that I sold it, and it feels so different. Like I have to get up and not go to my cafe. That's not something that was happening, because it had completed a year already. So every day I would wake up and just check the camera. The first thing I would do is like open my phone and check my camera and see like what's happening over there, and I would get up, get dressed and go think about a weekend special, that what we can do, like in a drink or food. So of course it's very different, but I totally believe in that. There's so much more to come. Just because I have time in my hand now, I feel like I was able to focus on what I want to do next, because next maybe it would definitely be me sharing my journey on Instagram and showcasing more of that. But it would be more about, maybe I'll open a small one more coffee place, because I know I've done that, I can do that more. But now I want to really focus more on Indian food, because I think that's what I did was the best thing on the menu. Like out of the 10 dishes, the 5 which were heavily Indian inspired were the most selling ones, which I never thought in the initial days when I opened one. So we thought that that's why we kept like different things as well, you know, people would like it. But the most selling dishes on my menu were Indian inspired. So it is a very different feeling altogether, not owing Tosha anymore. But it's new start to a new day, I feel. And there would be much more to come, I guess.
Right. So I know. So this question again takes me back to Tosha. You said that there were some heavily inspired Indian dishes. What were your favorite dishes on the menu?
I would say the most favorite dish on the menu for me was the egg benedict, because it had a tapioca roasty first of all. Then it would have like two beautifully poached eggs, and then we would make our hollandaise in house, which would have a different flavor because we would add some mustard in it as well. And then we, for the freshness, we would give some pomegranates, which I feel it's a very Indian thing as well, because we eat a lot of pomegranate in India. And then with some apples, and then on the top we would give a small tapioca roasty, like a papad thing, yeah, but like made of tapioca. So that was the best dish. And then of course then we had scrambled symphony, in which we would give a green chutney, which people would be like, can we get this more?
Right.
And then we had mushroom stack, in which we would give makhana, and a green mango chutney that's called amba. It's a very Indian inspired chutney as well. And shashuka, because our shashuka was not very Mediterranean inspired, but much on an Indian inspired shashuka.
Right.
So these four, and the fifth was the Bombay masala sandwich. Because I've stayed in Bombay for so long in my life, that sandwich was something I was very close to, and I wanted to introduce it for myself more than anybody. So I think these were best sellers and people would love it.
Oh, I wish I could have tried those. So maybe we'll have those in your supper club.
Yeah, maybe. It
try
would be Indian inspired for sure. So yeah,
course.
there would be a lot of new things coming in.
So moving on, you also said that the best thing that happened to you when you moved to Australia was meeting your partner. How did that come about? How did you meet your partner?
So I met him in the gym.
Oh.
It was one random day that I don't go to the gym, but I was there trying to be more healthier. And I met him over there, and then we get on to talking, and then we became friends, and he asked me out on a date, and we went out, and all we would talk about is food. And I was like, this is the guy who's supposed to be there, because he loves food as much as I do. So I am earning my money. I want a lot of money in my life to go out and eat and travel the world to eat.
Right.
And when I say that aloud, I have had people laugh on this. Oh, are you serious? You want to earn money to go out and eat? And when I told him the same thing, and he would say, correct, I am
That
earning
makes
money
sense.
to eat food, and that's about it. And he is so obsessed with food that, when on our first date itself, that when we were eating, he would look at his sandwich and adore it. And he would not look at me, and he was just looking at it and eating and just looking at it. And I was like, this guy is something else. He would make me laugh like crazy. And it went on for a long time. And then we decided that, yes, let's get settled. Let's make our parents happy, because we both come from a different caste. But all along, that wasn't a problem. And yeah, I think the love of food is something that got us connected. And I would definitely say that is one of the reasons why we are married today, is because every day we would talk about, oh, what are we going to eat next?
Right.
What he's going to cook, or what I'm going to cook, or what we are going to go out and eat. Because he is such an amazing cook as well. He would come back from office and stand for 3 hours to make one curry. He's that obsessed. So that's got us talking, and we are here.
So maybe for the next restaurant, it's going to be a joint venture.
That's why I want to do it from my house, so that we both would be in it. And I am a person who really believes in doing things from the scratch. That if I am making anything, like even if it's a small, like a granola, or even a small thing, I would like to make it by myself rather than buying from outside. And that you can do for smaller batches, not for larger batches, I feel. So that is the plan altogether, that he'll be my sous chef in my monthly supper clubs.
Well, you just brought up a couple of very interesting points. The first one was, I was very impressed with how casually you said, I cook and he cooks, which I also understand it's a very normal thing probably for our generation. At the same time, you also said that you believe in making things from scratch. When you're living abroad, a lot of people say that it's very difficult to have a work-life balance, especially because you don't have domestic help and things like that, and you're supposed to do all of the things around the house by yourself. Mostly, like I understand people do get external help, but a majority of them don't. So what's your experience been like, and how do you manage those dynamics, and do you think those would have been different if you were maybe back in India?
I would say definitely. So I have been a spoiled brat in India, to be honest. I didn't know how to use a washing machine as well. I had never ever cleaned, or cleaned a dish, or like, I've never done any domestic thing in my house back in India as well. Even when I used to do food pop-ups, I had people to cut vegetables for me. I didn't appreciate the domestic help. I think people don't, from India at least, till the time you are in abroad, right? And once I came over here, I learned everything. And I think that taught me a lot, to be honest. That taught me small little things that matter. Now, if you ask me, after 3 years of being abroad, me and my partner, we do everything by ourselves. We can afford if you want to get an external help, but I feel now that's an intrusion. I don't want someone in my house. I would like to clean it by myself. Now we have schedules that, this day we are going to do this. Today is our day to do the major cleaning in the house. So we divided things, and that's how we did. But initially it was a problem for me. But I feel when you learn and when you can do everything by yourself, that's a different kind of a pleasure. And I totally understand that people, it's difficult to get the work-life balance, because many people eat only for surviving, and many people eat only for their health. But I think I'm a person who eats for my soul. So for me, even after working, coming and standing for 2 hours and cooking is not a problem. But I understand for people it is, because they are not passionate about it, or they don't know how to do it. So it is a difficult thing, but it totally depends on how you navigate it. If And you get a lot of time. If you want to do something, then I feel time is never a problem. Living abroad, time is not a problem, because you can take out time if you want to. Because I think work-life balance is much better than in India. You don't work after 5. If you are in a corporate world, you get your weekends off. People do understand that altogether over here. It's not like India that, you are working till 7 and 8 and there's no overtime being paid and everything, right? So if you want to do it, then you do it. But I feel like I have enjoyed doing household works, because that makes me feel, oh, this is clean, because I did it. And I know it's 100% clean because I did it by myself. Rather than, I've seen my mom, like, even if we have 4 servants in the house back in India, she would be behind them, right? Like making sure that they are cleaning or not. I think like it's better to do it by yourself then.
Mhm.
So yeah.
So, you raise a very important point, and speaking generally, you said that you've never done household work back in India. I had never done it either. Before getting married, I don't think I had ever been in the kitchen to knead dough or make anything for that matter. So I often wonder, like, I would love your opinion on this. Is it the way that all these houseworks are introduced to us back in India that makes us want to run away from them? Oh, you should know how to make a gold roti so that, when you get married, what are you going to serve your in-laws or your husband? Or you should know how to do things around the house. I had never run a washing machine before getting married. Like, I had no idea how it worked. But my parents never asked me to, or they never said that you
Yeah.
should know these because, one day you're supposed to get married. But there was just this unspoken rule that we knew that you're supposed to learn this because, when you get married, you're supposed to do this. And that sort of created that aversion that, no, I don't want to do this. Do you think that is true?
Definitely. I would definitely say that because first things first, we are not introduced to household chores back in India by our parents because we had the money, and our parents also felt this is not something that we do. This is something the servants are going to do. But I feel tomorrow when I have a kid, I am going to teach my kid how to do every small little things by themselves. Even if we have all the money in the world to get people from outside, my kids are going to learn how to do everything by themselves, even if it's a boy or a girl, because it's not the same in India. In India, of course, girls are being like, they should know how to cook, not a boy, right? Because my father doesn't know how to cook today. My brother is very passionate about food, but I won't say he would go into the kitchen and cook because he feels that, because that's not supposed he's supposed to do, right? But when I came over here and I saw Piyush, like he had been here from the past 7 years, and he would say, I'll do the cooking. Even when I was the one who was the chef, but he is the one who does the cooking in the home more, because there's equality. But it's not like that in India, because over there, you being a girl should know how to do these things, because yes, tomorrow you're going to get married, because the society wants you to, right? My mother used to say the same to me, that till the time I would say I was 20, I never entered a kitchen. So she would say the same to me, that tomorrow, you don't know how to make anything, you're going to come back from your house because they are going to say you don't know anything. And that made me not want to do it more. You are so right about that. But that's like, I think in India, people live for those four people more, कि लोग क्या कहेंगे, than themselves.
Mhm.
And over here, you don't. Over here, you are actually living for yourself. That's the difference that I would say, that I would love to go back to India and stay with my parents, and I would want my parents to come over here and stay here. But in India, that is the problem. You accept it or not, that is the problem, ke neighbors kya kahenge ya log kya kahenge is such a big problem, that girls are supposed to do this, supposed to. Why? I think there's no box that girl is supposed to do this and boy is supposed to do that. But we don't, being in India or being Indian, we have not been brought up like that.
Yeah, that's very true. The kind of liberation that you feel when you're in a different country because you don't have anyone interfering with your everyday matters. And that's why they say it's a fact, and there's been a lot of research around it, that Indian women who move abroad, they are unwilling to go back to India because they feel like all these little things that they get used to, these little freedoms, they would lose that. But Indian men are more willing to go back home because they know things are not gonna change for them a lot. especially if they're those traditional males who don't do a lot of stuff around the house. So it's simple things like you go out in casual clothes when you're going grocery shopping. I've been here for 2.5 years, and never walking at night at around 11:30 or midnight I've ever felt unsafe. These little freedoms and these little things, they make you feel so liberated, and you start comparing that. And even though you miss home, you want to see people who are back home. You're happy to see them temporarily because you still want to come back.
That's so true. That's so true. If you'll ask me today, I would I would not go back. But my reason is not just the freedom. My reason is also I love a clear sky. Like I would say, and I would tell this to everyone whom I would have forced to move to Melbourne, is that the air that I breathe over here, or the stars I can see up,
I know.
is like that is never going to allow me to go back to India, because I love it. I just love that. And talking about freedom, that's so true. I think today my parents have been the most liberal one. They have never said anything what to wear, what to do. But I have got married into a family that is a lovely set of people, and but they stay at a place where you are supposed to do those things. So it's not that they think like that, it's what people do it, so we have to do it. So I feel like, that's the reason, one of the reason that I would feel that, I know they are amazing people. And but for society we do a lot of things in India, and I don't want to. That's why I don't want to go back, because no one, I feel, has the right to tell me what to do or what to wear or what time to get up. It's I am 33. Still, if we have to ask people that, what can we do, it's something that I'm not happy, and I would not let my this small freedoms go away. And yeah, I would not go back because of that.
Yeah, that is so true. Like you say that, you're 33, and people sometimes say that, oh, you've got a lot of time, because when they think of middle age, they think about, being 50 or 55, things
Yeah.
like that. But when you look at the average lifespan of a person, which is like maybe 70 years, so we are all almost halfway through
Halfway
that
through,
point.
yeah.
And if that's not the point, that you're living for yourself and just thinking about others, when will you do it?
Do it, yeah.
So yeah, that is so true. And coming back to the point that you raised about the clear skies, so I was in India back in November, and right after Diwali, and we got off the plane, and of course it was Delhi, so we were prepared with the mask. But even when I went to Chandigarh, which is my hometown, where I am used to seeing
Clear
clear
sky.
skies, I could not see the clear sky,
Yeah.
which was
Not
so
anymore.
surprising. And when we were in a taxi and we asked the driver, and he was like, no, it's always been like this. And in my mind it was like, no, it's never been like this. But because they've been there, and for them the change was gradual, for me it was seeing my hometown after 2 years, and things looked really bad. And at the same time, when we came back, there was this podcast, I think Nikhil Kamath, who had this guest from abroad who walked off because the AQI level was so high. And people were like, 140, that's not too high by Indian standards. And I was in the office and I just looked up the AQI level of Melbourne, and it was like 25 or 26. And like, I didn't need to look up the AQI level, but just to see the difference. Because when I came back, the first thing I looked at was like, after 2 weeks I finally see the sky, and the stars that I would only see in a hill station, like when you're going to Himachal Pradesh or something. I will see that right now outside of my
Yeah.
house. I am not living in some secluded place. I'm living in Melbourne.
In the city, yeah.
So these are just all these little things that make you realize that the quality of life, and of course you have to make some compromises, some sacrifices, but in the bigger scheme of things, they feel like nothing, as compared to the life that you're getting.
Definitely. I feel like I would not trade this for anything. Today, my brother is in India, my parents are in India. My husband's brother is in India, and his parents are in India. And we are trying our best to get all of them over here. I would love to stay with my in laws. I would love my parents to be here and stay with them as well. It's not that, people feel that, oh, the girl doesn't want to go back just because they don't want to stay with their in-laws, or for me, family is the most important thing. I want to stay with both set of parents, both set of brothers. I want all of us to have like own little community and stay nearby and stay together, but not in India, but here, because of the quality of life. And that's it. Because the quality of life is so much better. I'll be more happier with little money, but I want fresh air for myself and for my kids to come. They should be able to breathe the fresh air and should be able to walk to a place if you want to. I went to India after 2 years as well, and I went during Diwali. And it's the same like you explained, it was really bad. And I wanted to get up early in the morning. I did like I always do. And I was like, all right, let's go for a walk and get a coffee. And it felt like, no, you cannot. Pollution, people would look at you as if I don't know what's wrong with you going out in your pajamas and going for a coffee. And I was shocked. It isn't that I didn't knew, but it had been a long time
Right.
for me. And for us, this is such a small simple thing that if it's till 1 kilometer, I would rather walk,
Right.
because I love that you can go out and walk here, which you cannot do back in India.
You can't, because there's literally no space, and over here
Space,
the
yeah.
cars are gonna stop for you to cross.
No. Yeah,
Oh,
so
that-
it is different.
So, now that you've been here for a couple of years, what do you think were the biggest surprises or the biggest challenges that you did not expect?
So I always felt that I'm a very sweet person, which I am, I feel so. But coming over here, I realized that people are so much more sweeter. People are so much more polite. They are going to say thank you and sorry for any small little things, which we don't have it as an Indian. We don't have it inside of us, because when you are walking on the street, even a person who doesn't know you would smile at you and say good morning. But in India, people would look at each other with like those eyes and would never greet anybody, right? I think this kindness that I saw after coming here was a big surprise for me, and it was such a lovely thing. And the second thing that I realized was, like, if you go to a small place, if a Chinese is seeing a Chinese, they are being happy about it, like we talked about. And but if an Indian sees an Indian, they are not happy to see them. I think I don't understand this part of it. And it was a, what should I say, like, it was a difficult thing to see. Like, Indians would not support Indians. I think, like, coming out, that's what you should do the most. Like, try to be within the community and, like, try to promote each other. Like, if you have a business and if I have a business, we should be helping out each other. But no, we don't have it, because I think, like, we don't have that kindness embedded in us.
Yeah, I know we've talked about this, and when we talked about it and I came home, I was still thinking about that conversation. And I think it's also got a lot to do with the country that we're raised in. There's so many of us. We're
Yes.
the most populous country in the world. that we've been raised with this scarcity mindset that you have to do it, otherwise someone else is going to swoop in and get it. But when you move here, it's not the same thing.
No.
There's enough for everyone. You know, you can go to any college. It's not like you have to go get into an IIT or an IIM or in a top college or a law school or whatever it is, that there are only limited spots. But it is so hard to leave that mindset behind, that we are constantly in competition with each other and trying to pull each other down. Like that's what came into my mind.
So true. And man, I think the another thing which surprised me was I have had the same set of friends for my life, right? I never thought that I want to make new friends, because in India I always have those same friends from the time I have been in school, and I'm not a person who likes like 10 people. I don't want to have 10 best friends. I'm happy with 2. And I've had that. And I came over here and I realized it's difficult to make friends. At this age, first of all, yes. And second of all, I've tried to go out and tried to connect with people, but I'm not able to. So that was one of the reasons that I thought that, I'll be doing my monthly supper clubs, because I would love to meet people and I would love to connect with people over food as well. And when you're just 20 people sitting on the same table, it would get you going and it would be easier to talk, because you have to. There's no other way, right? And I thought that, in this way, everybody would be able to make friends, because I've made few friends over here and everybody would have said the same thing, that it's so difficult to make friends. It's not the same, because I understand everybody is busy over here. They have their own lives. But, sometimes you miss that, because you have that in India a lot, right? Because we stay with our parents, we have our friends over there. So, you sometimes feel alone over here. So you need to make that family. So that's important. That's what I felt was a surprise as well, that it was difficult to make friends, which I would love to connect to similar kind of people. And when I was thinking about doing a supper club, I thought that that is one of the reasons. There would be food and there would be people coming in, and maybe same-minded people would come in and connect to each other as well.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. And I think it is a very important point, because I've struggled with that as well, making friends, especially because my work is predominantly Australian. So, and more than that, it's mostly remote. And, I'm working from home majority of the week. So just going out and making that effort to make new people. And as you grow older, it's also that you become very selective of your circle. You instantly know when you're vibing with someone or not, just on those things. And to protect your peace and your sanctity, your inner sanctity, it's so difficult to go out and make friends. So having these sort of avenues like supper clubs, I know a lot of people do book clubs as well. That is so important. And what would be your advice to someone, who's struggling to make friends or those sort of social connections?
I feel like, go out. I know it's difficult, but I think join a group. Any group that, you feel that you can connect to. Because there are dancing groups, there are running groups, there are coffee groups, there are sandwich groups.
Right.
And this is a place, because, people from all over the world actually come over here to study. So there are a lot of people who would be feeling the same way like you do. Join a group. Like, even if it's on Instagram or Facebook, you'll find so many. Join any kind of group and try to go out and make friends, because it is important. Overall, you cannot stay alone and you cannot do this by yourself. So I feel having some set of people that you can rely on is always important. And it might take time that you would find a right person to be friends with as well, but it would happen.
Now that's interesting. And I know a lot of people also struggle with, making friends outside of their community. Like, either what I've noticed are two extremes. Either they only want Indian friends, or they don't want Indian friends at all, and they'll just go find friends from different cultures only. What do you think is the right balance? And how does someone approach interacting with someone from another community or ethnicity?
I feel like when I was studying, and I was in like this chef school, I made friends with not even one Indian, because I was the only Indian in the class who was studying. So by chance, it happened that I didn't make one Indian friend, and I made a Turkish friend. I made an Italian friend. I made a friend. She was from Brazil, and there was this one guy who was from Chile. So we were like 5, 6 people, and we would chill all the time. And not one of us was same, but I feel all of us were same. Even if we had like different upbringings, we are from different cities in the world, we had something to connect on. So I feel, I don't understand this, that I want an Indian friend or I want like a friend who's a different nationality. I have never like differentiated in that. But I feel like it you have to connect as a person more than the language, because I have made all of those friends, and we have something that we connected on. Or we say, oh, I would tell them, oh, my parents were strict when I was young, and they would tell me to be at home at 7. And I this friend of mine from Turkey, he said, oh, my parents were the same. They were so protective and this and that. So I feel you would always find someone to connect to, and that has nothing to do with nationality. You just have to start talking, is all you need to do to connect to a person. Like my husband, he goes on bike rides, and he knows so many Indians, and he knows people from different nationalities also, and they connected on a bike. So they would talk about that. So if you have something in common to talk about, then it's easier to make friends.
Right. So, well, we've talked about, your professional life, your personal life, and a whole lot of other things. Before we wrap up, my final question to you is, what is your advice to an Indian woman who's watching this podcast right now or listening to it? Either they've just moved abroad or they're thinking of moving abroad. What is your advice for them?
I would say take that step. It's not difficult. It might look like it might be for the few months, but take that step. Do something for yourself rather than doing for the people around you. Take that step and do it for yourself, because it's now or never when you start prioritizing you over everybody. And I think I totally believe that in life as well. You should love yourself more than anyone, because in the end, you are going to be there for yourself. So do that for yourself and take that step and move wherever you are. And if you have already moved, then I feel best of luck. And it's not that difficult. You would know, be strong, and you would know it's not that difficult.
And that's beautiful. And I don't think we could have ended on a more inspiring note. So thank you so much for that, Jenny. Thank you for talking to us. And thank you so much for watching this podcast. If you liked it, please like, comment, share, and subscribe.